Hey, how's it going? Y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you here. DB will be joining us here in a second whenever he decides he wants to come back. There he is. You didn't come down and hang out with us this morning, TV?
No, I couldn't make the trip. My fault.
How we doing, bud?
Hey, not bad, not bad. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Which one of these two people on stage is the most important this weekend? Is it Mrs. Rhule or is it Lincoln Riley? Oh man, are we ready for this recruiting weekend?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, should
Oh,
be a scene. Yeah, just kind of looking forward to. I mean, big opportunity in 27. I think. I mean, again, I know 28's a ways away, but I think people should take note of the type of talent Nebraska's gotten on campus in the 28 cycle, not just this weekend, but all season long.
Tim, so let me start there with you because I've had a lot of people text me over the course of the week saying, "Hey, if Nebraska wins on Saturday with the crew they've got there, like what is the upside of the 2027 class? Like let's say Nebraska wins, let's say 9 games this year. I think that's a reasonable number for what's left on the season. It would be a good year. If Nebraska has that kind of momentum heading into next year, like what's the ceiling on this 2027 class for them?
Yeah, I mean, they're in top five territory already, and you kind of have an opportunity to potentially finish and really push for a top five class. I mean, and it takes a lot of things working together. I mean, I think again, a win on Saturday is big. Like I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like again, you can have a positive, and I think Nebraska is going to be capable of having a positive recruiting weekend this weekend without winning on Saturday. But a win in that type of environment over a ranked opponent, it is just the way I put it on our board is you have an opportunity to turn some of the marginal progress the staff has made over the last 3 years into sizable gains over the next 6 months on the recruiting trail, on the field. Like, I mean, again, like a win is obviously constant confidence booster for a lot of guys in the building, but outside the building, a lot of these recruits, like they're waiting to see, okay, can Nebraska win these type of games? You're looking at this weekend specifically. You have a couple mutual USC Nebraska targets, including Miles Smith, the number two defensive lineman in the country in the 27th cycle out of Inglewood. Elijah Harmon, four-star defensive lineman out of Inglewood. Aaron Washington, four-star cornerback out of Mater Dei High School out there in Santa Ana. Jalen Hill, four-star cornerback out of St. John Bosco. These are guys that Nebraska is going to have to beat USC for in their recruitment. And a win on Saturday would go a long ways in showing them that, hey, you can come play big-time football away from home, and we can still bring you back closer to home to play at UCLA, at Washington, at Oregon, at USC, however that works. But you can stay in the Big Ten, and you can still and you can go further from home, but still have an opportunity to come out, play in the West Coast, and win football games.
TV, it's interesting. With a recruiting weekend like this and the amount of folks that we've got coming in, it's Coach Rhule's philosophy. He's an all hands on deck guy to make sure that everybody establishes relationships with everybody. How important is it, or how under the radar is it that you see guys that maybe the media and the fan base don't think, well, they're super integral in recruiting, but have really good relationships with multiple recruits across the board? Guys like EJ Barthel, or it might not be a running back, but EJ could have a really good relationship, or Coach Satterfield, where it may or may not be a tight end, but he's established a really good relationship in that area, like Murfreesboro or wherever, right? Where they're not the lead guys, but they're guys that are integral. How important is the total team effort for Nebraska?
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone this week too of like, okay, Bartell is one of those where like I don't think the average fan realizes how much work he does, how much relationship building he does on the recruiting side of things. And I mean, he's a guy that's gotten some flack, and even on our board, other boards, it's been like, hey, why does this guy still have a job? It's like, do you want Trey Taylor to come here? Do you want Claude Puma to come here? Like those guys aren't coming here without EJ Bartel's efforts. You know what I mean? Like those guys aren't coming here if EJ Bartel isn't on staff. Like he's done. He's the one that did the legwork for Nebraska early on to get them in the door. And then it's various members of the staff and others that have done the work to help get Nebraska over the top. But Bartel's super involved there. We're super involved in Nebraska's push into St. Louis. Has been super involved in Nebraska's push into Carolinas, which is a really big effort from the staff right now. They're trying to, kind of plant themselves and really work themselves into some of the top talent in South Carolina, North Carolina. Bartel's a huge, huge role in that. I talked to someone this week about, hey, like Ed Foley caught a lot of flack last year. You want to recruit the state of Nebraska right now? You want to be able to keep those relationships going. Foley needs to be on staff, and he's on staff for that reason because he does a good job of building relationships, does a good job of maintaining with everybody. Same thing with Marcus Satterfield at tight ends coach. Like, yeah, like he's a guy that again gets some flack because of the paycheck. If I was like, oh yeah, he's the highest paid tight ends coach. Like again, he's got Luke Sorensen committed, who is one of the top tight ends in the country. He has Nebraska in the mix for Ahmad Hudson. Like, if you ask Ahmad Hudson about why he's considering Nebraska, among the 5 things he'll mention is Marcus Satterfield. Like, straight up the name Marcus Satterfield. Like, the development, like the first time he was on campus, he watched film Marcus Satterfield. He was like, I learned so much more about myself in that one meeting than, previous coaches, just sitting down with other coaches. Like, he's learned a lot from Marcus Satterfield, the tight ends coach. And I don't know what Satterfield, it looks like beyond this year, but and Nebraska's, kind of setting themselves up for, hey, not really sure what beyond this year looks like, but there's a world where Marcus Satterfield is the tight ends coach here long term, and he's good at it. And and they do attract top recruits. Cooper Terwilliger, another 4-star tight end in the 27 class, loves Marcus Satterfield. So I think it's those 2 guys in particular that I don't think get their credit in what they do recruiting wise. I think Foley as well. Keith Williams, just because again, people see director play personnel, they figure he's got his hands in a lot of different things. Every recruit talks about Keith Williams. Like every recruit deals with Keith Williams to some extent and has to have that relationship. And Keith does a really good job. Okay, hey, like anything can happen any coaching cycle. We need to make sure we have multiple relationships and stuff. Hey, I'm a Nebraska guy. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to make sure that's me. Like I'm the guy that's got the relationship with all of these guys. And I think to round out this conversation, I think another one just worth mentioning is Rob Dvorak, just because I don't think he's gotten his credit as a recruiter, and specifically what he's done in the region in Kansas, in Missouri, beyond that, like what he does with his guys and his ability to keep Nebraska in the mix for guys. Like quietly, he's kept tabs on guys and does a really good job of making sure Nebraska is well positioned to strike when a guy becomes available in his region at his position. I think Dvorak does a really good job too.
Tim, I know that a lot of the focus has been on 2027, but it seems like anecdotally, as I'm following you on Twitter and kind of the reporting you're doing, that Nebraska's gotten a little bit more aggressive to close out this 2026 class as well. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's just kind of trying to address needs. I mean, receivers one that's really started to pop up. They've made some new offers. They tried a Josiah Teasley, Virginia commit. That just seems to be moving in a different direction. They just seem to be wanting something more, something different at receiver, which is why they schedule an OV with Jasiah Rogers, Penn State. Former Penn State commit who OV'd to Oklahoma this past weekend, flipped to Oklahoma, not going to make it to Nebraska this weekend as a result. And so they've just continued to extend offers. They're going to get Amari Saab on campus this weekend. He's a 3-star out of Glassboro, speedy receiver. His younger brother's a 5-star. His older brother's a safety at Alabama. So football's in that family, and Nebraska's battling Oregon, Alabama there. They just recently offered a speedy 3-star receiver named Braden Stevens out of Platte County. So that's another one that I think they're just looking for some additional speed here in this 26th class, trying to round that out. They've kept their eyes open for a 5th offensive lineman. I don't think that's ultimately going to happen unless the right one becomes available late down the stretch. Really, where you're looking at is defense. I mean, they're after a big playmaking safety. They had Tadarius Hughes on campus last week. I have a little something up on him probably later today, but Nebraska just kind of in negotiating mode there. I think part of getting the extension and getting some resources is to kind of win recruitments like that, flip a big time 6'3" safety that's expected to be like an instant impact type player from Florida State. Nebraska's pushing there, pushing at linebacker as well, either an edge, like a true jack guy, or an inside linebacker. They have a few offers out there. They made a new offer this week to Marcus Jennings, Pitt commit out of Detroit, Cass Tech, powerhouse program out there. They made a new offer last week out to St. Xavier's linebacker, Aiden Reeder. He's committed to Wisconsin, I believe. Wisconsin, yeah, and he's visiting Michigan this week. So Nebraska's working at linebacker, working at edge. They've kept their eyes open for D-line commit. They don't have a D-line commit yet. I'd expect them to get someone on campus here in the next few weeks. Again, they have that bye available. I think people forget that too. I think Nebraska's going to use that bye to get on the road, but they also do have that bye available to them as potentially a visit weekend if they want to use it. So they have 2 visit weekends left. They're doing their due diligence, and I mean, you guys already know, like this coaching carousel is already crazy, about to get crazier. There's just going to be guys that become available that this staff doesn't realize, or people just don't realize are going to become available late in the cycle because the head coach they're planning to sign to is often running for a different job.
TV, let me ask you something. Excuse me. From a depth standpoint, Where do you think Nebraska feels or is at the wide receiver spot? What they think they have, what they think they will be versus what they're going to need to be. Where do you think you're at with the wide receiver room?
Yeah, I think it's been an evolved conversation. Like going into the year, I think the expectation and idea was okay. With Isaiah specifically and Barney, it's like okay, well, Dane's here for this year. He's wide receiver one, but really developing for next year, and then the guys around him. But I think everyone's come along a bit faster. Quinn Clark in particular is challenging for snaps now, and I think Jeremiah Jones as well. Like that was the guy that they thought is going to need like a true full year of just shut down development. And he's going to redshirt this year and he hasn't seen a whole lot of action, but he's a guy that, I think in a different situation, if Nebraska was in maybe the ACC or the Big 12, you maybe see Jeremiah work into the rotation. Like, I just think they're a little deeper than they thought. At the same time, I think you look at what they're after. This cycle, they went out and got Nayland Scott, who's their big body. And they really haven't pursued a whole lot of big bodies outside that. Larry Miles is a true slot receiver. Whoever they're after here, Amari Saab, or if it's Braden Stevens, those guys are true like slot type guys. I think they're looking for more explosion in the room. I think they feel they lack maybe that out of the slot because behind Barney right now, it's a little unproven. It's Demetrius Bell who is battled through injury. It's just kind of younger guys on the roster. Sean Singleton's little brother. Like, so I think they just want more slot depth. They want more like kind of tiny explosive. Like, it's a staple of a Dana Holgerson offense and Da'Keil Short's wide receiver room is these tiny explosive guys like that are right around 5'9" to 6 foot. They want a little more of those guys. I think they're looking for a third, whether that's an Amari Saab, whether that's a Braden Stevens, whether that's someone else who pops up on the radar late. They want that third receiver, but I think they're really comfortable with what they have. I think at outside right now, like Isaiah, Quinn Clark coming back next year, Cortez Mills, those I think they feel really good about the outside room. I think, and part of it's health, part of it's maybe hoping Demetrius Bell would be healthy and be able to work into the rotation at points this year, but he's had setbacks and things like that. Like whatever it is, they just don't feel comfortable with the slot depth.